Welcome to Ms. Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 hilarious cases on Judge Judy. Number 10. An offensive coat of paint. Most of us would like to have an amicable relationship with our neighbours, but unfortunately the feeling isn't always mutual. That certainly feels like the case here, where the plaintiff is suing the defendant over a painted fence. Let's just reiterate that the side of the fence in question doesn't even face the plaintiff's home. So, in essence, he's suing because he doesn't like the colour. Things take a sharp turn as the litigant goes on to weave a tale about name-calling and soda can throwing that soon wears away at the judge's last nerve.
He picks up a Pepsi can and throws it at me.
Number 9. The extra who's too extra. It's not often that Judge Judy's audience steals the spotlight, but that's exactly what happens here. If you've ever been to a television recording, you'll know that there are specific rules you must follow. Sit quietly and politely, react appropriately in all the right places, and don't draw attention away from the action.
Out.
Well, the judge clearly thinks this audience member is in breach of that when she decides to kick him out of her courtroom. The guy's visibly shocked, or perhaps he's just feigning ignorance. Either way, his reaction is hilarious.
Out.
Number 8. Roadkill stew, anyone? In this case, an unfortunate deer encounter comes between two sisters. The defendant accidentally hits the poor animal with her sister's car and won't pay for damages because she thinks her siblings should have had better insurance.
Is that your defense?
Yes, that really is her defense, but it's only the second most laughable moment. If you hit an animal, what would seem like the most reasonable solution to you? Turn it into a meal? Yeah, we wouldn't do that either. But that's exactly what she did, and she even seems offended that her sister turned down the dinner invite.
And she even offered me some.
This is courtroom comedy at its finest. Number 7. Salad with a side of vandalism? We've all felt that disappointment when our takeout finally arrives and something's missing. We might inform the restaurant or even let it slide if it's a one-time situation. But how many of us would demand a full refund over a missing salad dressing? This plaintiff did.
Because we normally put the salad dressing on the sandwich.
To make matters worse, he ordered again 2 weeks later and slammed the door in the delivery man's face, claiming he had credit. But although he wins his case, the judge deducts the cost of the meal from his claim in a deliciously satisfying and hilariously calculated ruling.
$229.23 less 12.
Number 6. A theatrical recounting. If you're a loyal Judge Judy viewer, you'll know that she wants the facts, just the facts, and nothing but the facts. If someone tries to embellish their story, she usually shuts them down instantly. In this case, the defendant explains to the judge why he had to let the plaintiff, a former employee, go. He claims that she often couldn't do her work due to being under the influence of various substances. However, the undeniable highlight is his impression of the apparently intoxicated past staff member.
I went over to her, and she was like, "Why? Why?"
We were chortling as hard as the witness. Number 5. What a doorknob. Mouthing off to Judge Judy Scheindlin is a surefire way to get yourself kicked out of the courtroom. Still, after one defendant gets sent out for doing just that, another decides to pile on with a threatening message aimed at Scheindlin. She has him removed too, but he decides to try and get in the last word with a smart-mouth jibe about her qualifications.
Well, I have to tell you...
Sir, have you heard of the Bar Association? Also, his words might have had more impact if he understood the difference between pull and push. After finally mastering opening the door, he tries one final comeback, only to be drowned out by the sound of the audience's laughter.
Push.
Out.
Number 4. Judge Judy learns about Grindr. Who among us doesn't know the anguish of explaining social media to the older generation?
It's a social app that tells you where homosexual males are.
When the defendant tells the judge that he met the plaintiff on Grindr, she responds with a blank stare. So, he continues to detail the purpose of the app, and it quickly becomes clear that he wasn't browsing online to make a new friend, considering that she'd apparently never even heard of Grindr before now. It's amazing how quickly the judge grasps the situation. She even schools the 23-year-old defendant about how one might use an app to widen their social circles. Number 3. Adult business. When Judge Judy asks the litigant to explain her adult novelty business, this clearly wasn't the answer she expected.
With lotions and potions and vibrators.
The plaintiff is suing the defendant for missing or damaged items and reads out the list of affected products. many of which have very on-the-nose names. The judge doesn't need to utter a word. Her face hilariously speaks volumes.
Making love oil, flavors strawberry and champagne.
By the end, she has her head in her hands, clearly wishing she hadn't asked for so many details. Number 2. Dumb and Dumber. When litigants enter a courtroom, they have just one job: convince the judge to side with them. And we don't know who needs to hear this, but backing up your opponent's account isn't going to get you there. In this case, the plaintiff reads out a list of possessions she claims the defendant stole from her. Only one of the defendants pipes up to politely inform the judge that there was no earpiece among the items he allegedly didn't steal.
There was no earpiece in her mouth.
I love it.
It's not often the judge cracks up, but what else can you do when faced with such stupidity? Number 1. The Tupperware Lady. Karina Roy has become somewhat of a household name among Judge Judy fans. Roy seemingly mistook the courtroom as a stage for her one-woman show when she recounted her side of the story. Her tone is so melodramatic, and every detail is accompanied by an emphatic arm movements. And you know what's got her so riled up? It's Tupperware. Who knew something so mundane could be so contentious?
And she said, "There's your answer, Karina. Look in that cupboard there."
Do they give out awards for the most comically ridiculous theatrical displays? If so, we know exactly who we'd nominate.
"Shame on you. That's it. I want you out of here." And she hit my head.